streaming.
Great. And then we'll get that resolution sent out to them so they can start their process. Okay, new business. We have no new business, so we'll move on to CFO report. And then committee chairs, if you need to use your computers, feel free.
Okay, so short meeting today. First workshop was yesterday. I think it went well. Corey was there as well. The finance team was there. I think it went well. We had some positive feedback, so we're going to make a couple of changes for Thursday, like preemptively answer some questions that people have. Next thing was, so Jared from UAB as approached the finance team asking for supplemental funding. They have been a club in the past, but poor leadership meant that they didn't actually request money last year, so they didn't receive it this year. So we're going to meet with them tomorrow again to go over their budget and set up a resolution of that. Other than that, I've got a bunch of things I'm going to talk about during open discussion. So state of finance is still good in the report.
All right. Vice President Oberkriller, putting that.
All right. According to the Rocker Shop, Logo was shot yesterday and will arrive when they arrive. So hold tight in suspense, but it will be here soon. And I will be reporting content for you later, so that's not a good report.
Okay. So first of all, thank you guys. I wasn't here last week, obviously, but I heard that the discussion with Dr. B went really well, and I appreciate you guys asking meaningful and pointed questions. It goes a long way toward the faculty, seeing that we're really working to represent students and vice versa. We get to learn a lot about what's going on. So really, thank all of you. Last Friday, we had just a quick report on the President's Roundtable, which is an opportunity for organization presidents to meet with myself and Dr. E. And we had a good discussion about organizations. It wasn't a huge crowd, but I was going to say, what did you say?
25.
25. So, a decent group. We talked about a lot of things. One of which that came up, and I'm sure this may, I don't know if it'll come up in an open discussion, but one organization stated that they wish that Finance Committee would help more with forming their budgets before the SOAP. I think the real problem there is they don't know where their resources are to help them with the budgeting. I mean, obviously the SOAP workshops are supposed to be a huge opportunity, so we just need to make sure that we're promoting that. SOAP workshops are mandatory, but I know that there's student resources on the website under SALC and student orgs. I know Constitution Committee is working on putting together a student org handbook, so that may be involved. Just making sure that organizations feel prepared to succeed on this campus. Let's see. A reminder that if you if you're sending out things that are on the complaint board or comment board, and then it gets resolved, make sure that you send an email out to SA so that they can put it on our next Senate update that said, hey, we heard what you guys were saying, we worked on it. Jake and I attended Circle K's meeting this week to kind of start, just a dialogue, smaller discussion dialogue with organizations. One thing they brought up was that fundraising for service organizations can be hard because they fundraise so much for everything that they fundraise goes towards the cause. And so that may be something that, we just talked about with having an open discussion about the service orders. Everyone's kind of got their niche problems, and I think that was the only thing that they really presented. So just so you guys are aware, that'll be more of a conversation with finance, though. On November 1st and 2nd, the presidential candidates, so we have 4 candidates coming in who are candidates for the new school president, and they will be, we don't have the time set, but it's looking like it'll be either in one of the rooms off the ballroom or possibly in the ballroom, depending on how much. We really need a handful of students who are there at every session, so I mean that's hard. There's 4 of them over the course of 2 days. They're probably going to be an hour and a half would be my guess. As I know more, I'll let you know more and I'll send it out. we need a core group to be there for all 4, and then students are invited to each one. All the students are, even if they can only make 1 or 2. So, yes.
Will there resumes and resources?
Yes, those will be released 24 hours before the first occupancy interview. Okay, so, yeah, if you're interested, say that again. Did you have a question?
No, we're thinking, is it Tuesday, Wednesday?
Wednesday, Thursday. So, like I said, more details to come, but keep that on your radar. You guys represent a lot of students in this room, so it'd be really great if we could get a good turnout with the senators. If you think that you're going to be available, or you'd be willing to, work with your professors to miss some class to attend all of those, please let me know, and we'll just keep. And I'll be emailing some of you guys, especially like he's not here, but Shaw represents a lot of grad students who aren't represented here, so it might be really important that you guys know that sort of thing. So just keep over your email. And then last thing, non-traditional candidate. I'm still trying to find a non-trad senator. If you guys have recommendations, or you know people who would, maybe be good, and I know that there's some veterans who qualify for this as well. If you have ideas, send them my way. I've been trying to actively recruit, talking to non-trads. I've sent out emails and just haven't heard anything. I heard from one guy and then they kind of fell off. So with that, and report. Unless you guys have any questions I didn't really ask for any of us. No. Yeah.
Is there any place that we can point kids to give them our, or to give them the full information, or that they can refer back to for the the interviews and stuff? Is there gonna be an announcement on our, yeah.
Yes. So I'll be sending out an email. It'll be on social media. We'll kind of hit it in all realms because we want students to be at.
Okay.
And that would be something that you guys will need to promote as well. Just talking to the people you interact with, say, hey, come to these things. It's a good way to get to know the candidate. I mean, everyone that is there will have to fill out evaluation forms. We don't rank candidates. We do pros and cons, and then we present those to the Board of Regents, and they select the next person. So,
Will it be on the school website?
Yeah, I'm sure it will be everywhere because they're meeting with students, faculty, community, the whole spectrum. But I can make sure that gets brought up. Anything else? Okay, we'll move on to committee reports. Constitution.
So we voted on AWS and they passed, so I'll be letting them know that they're an active organization. The Bird/Whale Watching Club is holding their 2nd or 3rd meeting to recruit more members, but we were unaware that they are now a bird and whale watching club. So I discussed a little bit more with him on why this changes, and they just decided that they're going to also be a whale watching club, even though there are no whales in the area. So I'm a little confused, and I tried to get more information because I've also heard the rumor that they just want to create a whale organization so that they can go on a vacation, so they can watch whales, but really just spend soap money on going on a vacation, which that's not cool. So I talked to him about that, and he said that is not true. But we'll be talking more next week with them. So just to keep you guys updated. The math club, they got us their constitution, and we made recommended changes, and I think we're going to be meeting with them next week. And then they might be coming in this coming week or the week after. We will no longer be pursuing reactivating the chess club or the martial arts club because they have not responded to 6 emails. The MUN club, they have updated their constitution, but he hasn't gotten back to me yet if they're getting more students to show up to their events. So I'm going to wait a little bit longer to let them have more time. Debate club, we're waiting on them to still let us know if they voted on their constitution changes yet or not. And this is also one of the student organizations that haven't completed an activity report, so they're kind of on our radar that they might be kind of struggling. And then activity reports are due on October 5th, and we are emailing organizations that have not completed an activity report, and we're going to continue to do this every single week with organizations that haven't filled them out. And also we're going to email organizations that haven't re-registered on MindsLink as well, because some have re-registered but haven't submitted an activity report and then vice versa, so I'll be emailing them. And they have until November 1st to fill this out, and then after that they'll be going through the deactivation process. And then we are going to be working with the SALC to create a student handbook to help student organizations have a place to go for constitution and bylaw guidelines, travel paperwork, and then how student organizations can transition from year to year successfully. Oh, and then also we are working with, I didn't add this in the report, sorry, but we have a non-traditional student organization that is coming on campus soon. So maybe one of them can be a secretary.
Great. Questions for Phil's institution? Alright, thanks, Ryan. Oh,
So is that the non-track clubs wanting to reactivate? Is that what it is? Okay.
any other questions? Thanks. Moving on, GR.
Hi guys, so GR has been really working on, or the potential of having our open forum, which I want to talk about that more in open discussion. But so for that, it's just the talking about, or the topic of it would be no self-funding for clothing and food. And we were just kind of talking about like what, or like trying to compile a list of answers for like questions the kids might have for it, and yeah, and then we got a list of like organization, or we got the contacts for organization heads, so we're gonna like send out personal invitations to them. So there'll be like a maximal amount of people there. And the date of the event is to be determined, and the event actually is to be determined. We don't know if it's 100% going on. So availability is being investigated. We're also going to be spending some money on a current, or on a bulletin board. And we want to put up some like current SC legislation and just like political events, and maybe put that up in the SALC or somewhere. Or like I don't know, maybe Surbeck. It's really undetermined as well. And then morale events. We've been trying to compile a list of indoor events, so maybe bowling or jump craze, escape rooms, or maybe hosting a meeting at Buffalo Wild Wings. And if they'll be coming soon.
So for that bulletin board, because we meet tomorrow for survey committee and stuff, so what are you really thinking about and where would you like to put it?
Okay, I haven't gone and like looked around yet, but I'm not really sure where there is availability and how big of a board we're looking for, but maybe I could see it in the meeting.
Yeah.
Possibility. What's that? What's that mean? Oh, I gotta do that. Yeah. Okay. Alright, so I'll go there.
All right, any other questions for Gio? Thanks, Ryan. PR.
Hi, everybody. Okay, first off, congrats to Keith Schumann. We picked you for Center of the Week. So secondly, one of the big thing that PR this week did is we had Arts and Crafts Day, and we spray painted the giant M blue in the Senate office, and we still have a couple more coats before we finish that up. But actually, we're also thinking about putting that in Cervix somewhere. I can't make that meeting tomorrow, but maybe I'll just like pass the information along to Megan. We are going to be helping the Open Forum in any way that we can, whether it's advertising, showing up, just being there, and brainstorming ideas. Megan talked about that a lot, though. We're in the process of updating posters for the Hard Rock Discount Program around campus. We have about half of the new ones up. The other half are going to go up sometime this week before our next meeting on Monday. Our plan right now is to update those once a month right now, and then if we need to, we'll move it down to every 2 weeks. And we got all of our Hard Rock Discount Program letters sent out to the businesses, and we are waiting to hear back on their updates of what they thought this last year was. Like, did they benefit from the Hard Rock Discount Program? Did they change their discounts? Do they no longer want to participate? And so we're hoping to hear back within a week, or however long it takes. And a report.
Any questions? Thanks. Essay.
Okay, so survey results and common board results. Like every meeting, we are going through them. We went through them in detail last meeting. All the ridiculous ones were just kept to the side, and we will not be responding to those. But all the ones that make sense, and we can do something. We can or cannot. That's a different thing. So if we cannot do something about it, we're gonna write it down on the board saying why we cannot do something about it. And respective people have been emailed. And at the end of my report, I'm gonna discuss some other things. But if you got an email from SA, and when you meet with your committee, just respond to that email, why or why not, so we can put it on the board and we'll have like a fixed answer to the question. We changed the format of the common board. Earlier it was just open responses. Now it's more like it's divided into two sections. The left side is like responses from our end, so progress, why stuff cannot be done, and the other side is a specific question. So the question from last Thursday till tomorrow, our meeting, was what specific changes in food do you want to see? So tomorrow at our meeting, I'm going to change the expo markers, it's almost done, and I will, when we'll get that list, and food committee will get another email from us, and since you're meeting on Tuesday, we can discuss those. Joe and Luke can finally found the time to meet, so I'm meeting with them tomorrow morning. Yep, and I'm just gonna go over some of the responses that might be for everybody maybe. So I have some questions as well. One of the things was recording lectures, and we got a high frequency of those. Another thing was advertising sports other than football, which I'll discuss with Joel tomorrow. And students have asked for more students in Senate meetings and more student open forums. So GR and PR for open forums, I guess students are asking for more, but we'll discuss in open discussion how we can get more students in meetings. If there are no questions, end of report.
Why are you meeting with Joe Lucas tomorrow?
School Spirit Challenge. Okay. Sorry, I forgot to mention that.
Follow up on that. I got an email from Kevin Price, who is on the Hard Rock Club, and he sent me a flyer of the app they developed, they're gonna launch, and I forward you, I just got this in today, just
That's
that.
weird, I heard about it. They use geolocation.
Yeah,
So-
so
Is that what are you gonna meet with him about that as well?
yeah, so when I spoke with Joe, this was what he wanted to discuss. And last week when I emailed him, he said he didn't have time, but he responded to me yesterday saying he found time. So tomorrow, this was the main thing we were going to discuss because he told me they already had that. It's how we can incorporate that.
Right, okay, so, I guess I forwarded you that email, and I'll tell him that you're already put it on.
That works.
Because that came out of the faculty senate meeting from last week, because I reported that we were working on that, so, yeah, just getting everybody in the loop.
Any other questions?
Thanks. Campus ad hoc committees.
Food committee is meeting on Tuesday at noon, so please come for those who consume or don't come in the Senate office.
Do you have a question?
It's related to that. So, food gets a lot of heat. The food committee, that's like a hot noise. I had a student tell me today that they are very happy with Aramont because they need gluten-free options, and they are very prudent with providing those options. So tell them that. Maybe lead with that. And
Still your brother's
yeah, it's a little bit that.
Even like from what I've heard, I even said this earlier, like there isn't too much of an issue with the dining services. It's more like the bigger problem is the minor shack. I think that is the problem.
So, good stuff first.
All right. Anything else for food committee?
So yeah, related to that. So Jen came in the Senate office today. It was me and Jen sitting there, and she just sat down and just started having a conversation with me about food. Totally unexpected. It was actually so interesting because she was like really, really interested in hearing feedback. I thought, how cool is that? She also said that regarding like the pricing thing or whatever, I was going to mention this in the discussion, but I'm not going to mention it. She said that pricing comes from like the national organization, so that's why they actually like physically aren't able to change it for this branch. They wish that they could, but it comes from higher up. And then she said the other thing is that next Wednesday there's like a food sustainability day where lunch they serve like the only things that they serve are like things that you should eat. So they're like taking away pizza or something like that, just for lunch, so that you can like, this is how the right diet is. Because she said a lot of times people complain about the food, but then they have options and they just pick the wrong food.
I think the phrase she used was a plan forward.
Yes, yeah.
So,
But she called it the sustainability.
yeah. Second, the prices that are fixed are the grill works food. So like the chicken strips and stuff like that are fixed. I'm not sure how fixed the like packaged goods are. The way I understood it was just the grill works stuff.
Okay,
But yes,
you might be right.
I was also only half subject homework. And also on the same topic, Jen has been looking at the board a lot, especially when there's food stuff. So which is good, because she's very receptive to it. And for example, she saw something about the ice cream machine not being on the weekends, and she was like, I didn't realize they didn't turn it on the weekends, which there's a reason behind it, but she's been talking to me about it. So Jen has been getting good feedback from that and putting things into action from that. So.
And then the other thing that she asked me was smoothies are only, that was like a one-time thing or something that she gave smoothies out one day like a week or something ago. And she was like, should we do that often? I was like, yes, every week. And so apparently that's going to be a thing now. Every Friday, smoothies around noon, and it's going to be the action bar. I feel like I should get like a promotion or something. But anyway, I'm super excited about that. And she's listening to our feedback.
Any other questions or comments for food committee? Meeting on Tuesday, if you have, and just be mindful that I think we're doing a really good job of starting this conversation. Just make sure that whenever you talk, you realize that this is people's livelihood. You know, this is people's careers. So just be respectful. Second, right.
Can non-senators come to that meeting, or is that not?
I would say ask them to voice their concerns through a senator. It just makes the meeting easier. Unless ours goes there.
We have RAs that come, so, I mean, if you know an RA that wants to come, they can come.
Anything else? Okay, I'm sorry. Other campus ad hoc committees. Vice President Overberg.
Alright, so concert committee had their first meeting last Thursday, and it was awesome. You guys should all come to the next one, which will be tomorrow, same time, 6 o'clock, in the Senate office. So, as of 8:30 today, this morning, Aaron sent out the survey for the concert, and we've had 491 responses, which is a lot for a day.
And the student that replied to my email and said I would be the best president in their eyes if we got a concert.
That's not a reason. I was not.
I like the comment. But anyways, the top genre that students want is rock, followed by pop, and then country, or no, hip hop, and country. And most people say they would pay $20 to $40 for a ticket. The top artist, which actually works really well for our somewhat plan right now, is Imagine Dragons. 226 people want them the most. And we had quite a few write-ins, but overall, we're getting a lot of interest from people. I actually had a football player come up to me and say, hey, what do we gotta do to get this, like, to happen? Like, and I was like, well, for right now, just get everybody to fill out the survey. You know, get a lot of interest and get a lot of movement. Jonathan, I got your email, we'll discuss more about like the BH Minds thing tomorrow. So, let's get excited. It's gonna be cool, really cool.
What question? Were you able to get a meeting with Joel, or is that process not started yet because you're not?
Not yet, because it's.
Maybe I missed this somewhere. Where are the surveys? How are they distributed? Is it an email or?
They're sent out in emails.
So check your spam folder. Somewhere part of it.
May I ask what the top rated ones?
That I haven't like filtered out yet. Well, yeah, I have to go through it. I can send out that later. She's a little out of our budget.
Yeah.
Okay, Taylor Swift was like over $1 million and Drake was like 400,000. Which is weird. Really weird. Well, not, yeah, I don't get it.
It looks.
Yeah, it looks like Kendrick Lamar is the biggest writer. Followed by Lil Dicky. Same Post Malone.
President Emeritus.
I do want to note that we did have Little Dicky on our list, but we're afraid that the community would not appreciate the concert and would not support it.
Okay, so what we really want to get is a discounted price for students and a really good discount, and then sell to the general public at wholesale and have an artist that, you know, is somewhat receptive to both kind of generations. And so, honestly, I think Imagine Dragons would be, and that's our top one, and I feel like they would be a good kind of generational gap. So,
Would you also have like a different ticket availability so like students can buy tickets beforehand? Because if you have Imagine Dragons come to the Civic Center, it's gonna sell on the day.
oh no, it would, students are all allowed to get a ticket. I mean, we haven't hashed out these details, but they're open to students, and then, this is gonna be a Minds event that we wanna push really hard with the public to get kind of our name, like, really pushed out there.
Any other questions that, for concert committee now? Remember, a lot of this is gonna get hashed out during the
I'm
meeting.
sorry. Never mind, go.
How much would Nickelback be?
I think it's like.
They were really, really expensive. They were
We're
also
meeting tomorrow and we'll look it up.
So how would you contact, like, when you select the artist, how would you contact that artist or reach out? I'll talk to you at the meeting.
So as for Imagine Dragons, the reason why, which cohorts very well, is because the potential sponsor that we have from the community, Northwestern Mutual, I had lunch with him last week, and they performed at Northwestern Mutual's annual conference 2 summers ago. And they also have ties with Childhood Cancer Foundation, Imagine Dragons does, and Northwestern Mutual's top charitable event is Alex's Lemonade Stand, which goes towards pediatric cancer. So we're hoping enough connections there, if that's the top one, to get us there.
You have a follow-up?
Yeah, so my dad, he was a music executive and stuff, so like, I can help you guys out in terms of connections, but it will only be towards like the hip hop and R&B, aspect of music and stuff. Just letting you know.
How do you guys like find the prices for this? Okay.
Yeah, so there's, I use a website called Concert, so there's a
similar to what that we were talking about. Oftentimes we would use what's called a middle agent, with that can negotiate on behalf of the family.
When it's,
Yep,
So-
when it gets,
How
that was
would
what I
they
meant.
contact them? Like, how would they?
just like,
So they would
Exactly
do it.
like
Like we wouldn't call them, but anyway.
Any other questions for concert committee right now? Okay.
hold on, this is a big undertaking, so please, all the help, all the connections, all the help, it's not even.
Should we make this like also open to other kids, like not just like a,
Oh.
like in the whole campus, because there's a lot of people that kind of.
I had a member of K-Tech come up to me that, something, this was after I sent my report, saying that they were already starting to plan a concert for next year as well. I don't think they weren't thinking like huge, but they really are excited and want to partner with us, so I told him to have them a couple of meetings.
It was.
I'm happy.
Anything else? Okay. It's exciting. Interesting. Any other campus or ad hoc committees? Nobody? Now, for you freshmen, I never put you on campus committees. So you're going to get a campus committee tonight, and I will email you. So be aware of that. Also, on campus committees, I was emailed about parking committee. Shaw has been on there for like apparently a while, and they sort of requested that we put on someone younger. Is there someone who's, is there, first of all, is there a freshman who really wants to be on parking committee? And then, if not, is there anyone who wants, preferably like sophomore and junior, who would really like to also, I mean, they'd have to stay on their other committees, but freshmen first, so I'll let you know. Yeah, thanks. Moving on to open discussion. Ooh, okay, we'll start, Senator Speed Talk is the best option.
Okay, so just going back to the food thing. So Airmark's not going to offer all the options on for lunch? Is that what,
Well, the way that I understood it is there was gonna be, sustainable options. I think she was taking away pizza, but she might have actually left. Maybe some, cause she said she didn't want people to be too angry.
yeah, okay, so that was my big thing, that if you're paying for the food and that's what you're going for, and then you go there and it's
Yeah.
stuff that's, oh, this is a late to eat today because we're gonna change it and this is the thing that we're gonna do with it. I'd have an issue with that, that I can only eat something that's sustainable or something like that. If I choose to eat pizza all the time, that's my choice.
Right.
If I'm paying for it.
Any other items for open discussion? Oh, I thought, okay, go ahead. Senator Rio.
Well, I just wanted to go over again, like what the whole soap funding, food voting. Could you go over the details, or should we?
Yes, that was my item. of
Okay, that's
discussion.
what I figured that we were.
Yes, so there's basically two things that I want to talk about today. We can talk about food and clothing first. So the idea is that funding is really short on campus and clubs are constantly running out of money. And I don't think that's ever going to change, but something we can do to sort of help the situation is to make a rule that's just like a hard rule that clubs cannot spend soap money on food or clothing, with exceptions, because there are some clubs that obviously like the dancing inspired uniforms, that's like a big part of the club. Cultural Expo spends a lot of money on food. We've also got Rocker Days, spends a lot of money on food. So those are the exceptions. We have a waiver that they can fill out and send in and be approved to spend food. But the majority of clubs wouldn't be able to buy pizza anymore with soap dollars. If they fundraise, they can still use fundraising money. And since we require fundraising, all clubs have money, at least they should, that they can spend on food. Do you guys have like glaring issues with that? Do you want to bring up?
In my personal opinion, which like whatever, password, like you're never going to be able to have enough money to fully fund every student org's budget that they want. So that's kind of the role of finance committee, is kind of whittle that down to what you want. So I don't think that that's a good enough reason to shortchange boards for the money that they rely for recruiting and stuff like that. Food is a huge part of recruiting members, so that would be my opinion on that. Polos I could see, because I know like polo, when you spend money on them, they're supposed to stay within the organization. They're supposed to be reused. I think that's how the rule is stated, but I'm not certain on that, and I know that doesn't really happen. So
That's good. Good point.
Senator Avery.
So to build off Gina's argument about clothing, if a student, for example, were to keep their polo or keep their clothing, then I can see it being an issue. But you have to remember that when a club or organization with the School of Mines logo on it or a name goes out in the community, they're representing us and our school. And so if we limit that, we're prohibiting the ability for our school to promote ourselves and our clubs, which is an issue I personally have, but I'm sure we can still work around this if we discuss it.
Senator Lopez.
Okay, so I have a few things to say. So I am also like kind of on the same board with Gina and AJ. Just in terms of like students each pay like a general activity fee for each credit that they pay for, and so then for us to manage that and say, well, you can't spend any of that soap money on food, I just don't think it's necessarily right, because like we're each paying for our credits, and like if we want to spend that money on buying 50 pizzas, then like that's how we should be able to spend our money. Which goes into my second point, which is like micromanaging organizations. So just because like what gives us the authority to say that, oh, you guys can't spend money on food, it shouldn't that be up to them? If they are having trouble funding their organization, shouldn't they say, oh, I shouldn't buy 50 pizzas, instead I should buy these 2 new parts that I need for my Baja car? You know, instead of us saying, oh, you can't buy food, like they should be smart enough to figure that out, like I should not buy food, I should spend it on these parts. And then my third thing is, for like the food waivers, if we did like put that into effect, like where would that line be? Like where would those restrictions be on like what gets food and what doesn't get food? Because then it turns into the whole like how Jen has different things that she says, oh, this can be passed and this can't be passed. But it's like, is that a mental list? Is that a list that we like send out to the public? And then where are we going to draw that line for, oh, these organizations can have food and these organizations can't? So those are my thoughts.
Senator Ryu.
I know it was before mentioned that like other bigger schools have this already implemented, like is it SDSU?
Yes.
Yeah. And I just, the only thing I would have a problem with, like, for that being a reason is that like they're a lot bigger than like just saying a lot more kids and their degrees aren't as demanding. Like here, like it's hard to get kids out and like out of their rooms, and I feel like if we took like an incentive away for them to go to like into like a club or something, like they're be like way less inclined to go out if they don't have a benefit.
So my thing is, when we discuss in the board, I am with finance committee on the food issue because from what I know, from my knowledge, what I've been told, right now in the guidelines, you can only have food for your first meeting, but then everybody just, there's no way to keep track of it, so people just keep buying food. And secondly, like, where do you draw the line? So my thing was when a resolution or whatever, like pretty much everything, the waiver has to be like passed through like a resolution, in my opinion, with like a list. So like I know India Club, Cultural Expo, they all need like, they literally, food is their main thing. So that needs to be like passed through like all of Senate, needs to be approved, and then they get funding for that. Uh, so someone came in either last week or the week before that, and will you be acquiring soap? Yes, we'll be buying food with our soap money. So I don't think, like I agree, we all pay money, but does someone want, like some organizations like get more food than the other? Like I don't know, I don't want other people eating pizzas of my soap money, my gas.
I guess that's my question. Just real quick from that finance committee standpoint, the verbiage in your constitution, is there anything outlining the difference between the pizza at the first meeting versus providing refreshments, we will call them, for an event that they sponsor? So say they're bringing in and they're providing refreshments as part of an event, and what that difference is. Yes, actually, the there's a clause that says, it has the idea of one meeting, one recruitment meeting that food can be spent for. And then, so a couple other things that I want to say, very quick, sorry, actually, that's very helpful. I'm jotting down some notes here. But, so the statistic is that 1 in 7 students on campus are part of an organization, which is not very many. Even though we have tons of clubs, there's not that many students relative to the number on campus. So when a club spends money, they are effectively spending the money, for each person in the club, spending the money of 7 other people. And so the purpose of removing food is we're sort of sending the message that we want organizations to spend their money on things that fall under the list of SOAP priorities, that fall in our SOAP constitution. There's a list of things such as benefiting them educationally, benefiting them relationship with the community. And so you know, buying pizza, it serves as a great recruitment tool, and I completely agree with that. But it also is sort of a personal gain more than a universal club educational gain type of thing.
So in years past, what the finance committee has done is when they send a budget in, we will cut it down to the money for food on their budget for that first recruitment event, and then we'll cut the t-shirts or polos, finance, how much they're requesting. If they say $35 a polo or something like that, we'll cut it down to $5 for each number of shirts they wanted to get, and that's how much that money we're going to allot for those specific things. When they get their funds at the end of the year or the next year, however they choose to spend it is kind of on their own. They're responsible for their own budget. If they want to blow it all on pizza, that's really up to them. But as far as from a budgeting standpoint, when we're looking at all these budgets, we cut them down to the state regulation and the first recruiting event. But like I said, what they do with the money is really how they want to spend it. So it's kind of the finance committee doing its due diligence, but it's also allowing them to choose how they want to spend their money the next year, because they may have different officers, or they may just be a completely new organization, or they decide that budget was crap.
I'm not really familiar with like the budgeting. So when a committee or like when an organization comes in, like, oh, we're gonna fundraise this much money, do they have to like tell you, or like do they have a specific amount that they say they're fundraising and what they're using the fundraise dollars for?
So we require them to say how much they're fundraising, and then it just turns into income that they use for their budget. That's pretty much it.
So how would like cutting that or cutting out like food and clothing, how do you expect that to even change how the budget will be if they can just go spend it on that, because they'll still request the same amount of money? Like since they're already spending or like expecting that much money for pizza or whatever.
That's a great point actually, and it would change that they wouldn't put food on their budget anymore, because what's on their budget, what they need, is what they need for SOAP money for. So they could have a separate budget for their fundraising money, and so that would be their SOAP dollars. And of course, foundation money can be spent however you like. The SOAP money would be stocked at the business office, where you would go to get reimbursed for food, and then they'd say, unfortunately, we can't reimburse you for food, and so it would be stocked, but only SOAP dollars.
Just so everyone's on the same page, in the SOAP Constitution it says organizations may fund apparel purchases with SOAP funds at a maximum of 50% of the purchase cost. So like, unlike what I said, it doesn't specify the recycling. And then for food, it says, sorry, SOAP funds may only be used for food at recognition and or recruitment events.
So this was $5.
Yes.
So is it not what you just said, 50%?
Yeah. Okay. So you're getting, so this is where things have been messy, very messy in the past, and we're really going to try to make this better. That's what it said on the PowerPoint every year for like the last few years, and I don't think the SOAP Constitution has even really looked at it in the past, as far as I know. We're in the process of updating the so constitution, but it's going to match what was on the PowerPoint, ideally if it gets passed. I know that it, again, that's obviously the detail, that it's the SOAP countries that do the national presentation. But we've been,
I mean, personally, I would prefer them to change the constitution.
I understand, but, yeah.
I have a question and then I have a follow-up. So the first question is, just so I understand this correctly, you're thinking everyone's gonna make their budget smaller because they won't be applying food and clothing in it anymore? So when those special organizations like the dance team or like India Club or Cultural Expo, like when they go to request that extra money, where's that money coming from?
Yes, so they would submit a waiver along with their budget, and if it was approved, then those items would stay on their budget, and we would allow them to stay. But if the waiver wasn't approved, then those items would be removed from the budget.
So just in response to Senator Knudsen, so I totally agree that how a club spends their money is their choice. But say, I'm just gonna give an example of some clubs, like say a camp team, when they go out to a competition with like the really whatever good car, they win, they make all of us proud, and all of like I'm not in Formula, but like my soap dollars are going there, you know. So that does benefit like the entire student body. Now if there's some club who budgets for something for their club and just ends up having pizza every meeting, how is that benefiting like me and other students that are not a part of that club? Because again, like we want like community presence or something to do with like educational. So that's my concern.
So this year we implemented auditing process. We take a random number generator and put all the clubs in line, and then 5 clubs got chosen. And we look at the budgets that they submitted, and then we can get all the check requests and the receipts they submit from the business office into their SOAP account, and then we look and cross-match. Did you follow the budget that you submitted with us? And then if they did, you know, it's no problem. If they didn't, we go back to them, ask a couple questions, see what happened. Because budgets always change and all that, but there is a check and balance there now, so that way clubs aren't asking for, you know, $2,000 or $3,000 and then just having a pizza party every week. All that's wasting money that way.
Okay, so what is the whole point of this? Like so you'd be like taking money away from the clubs just to give it back, or like not allowing them to request less, but then giving it back to them for a different purpose? I'm just confused.
Yeah, the big purpose behind it is, first of all, every club gets cut, no matter what, whether they have food or not, just because the clubs ask for so much more money than we've got. So if we remove food from all of their budgets, the collective amount of money that they're requesting would go down, which means the average percent allocated would be higher per club, because it's the same amount of money, but they would be asking for less, so we wouldn't have to cut as much. You know what I'm saying? Because the food would, so there would be the same amount of money in the system, but it would be allocated more heavily towards all the other things that we could spend money on, such as parts, and club needs, and travel, and so forth.
Just going a little bit off what Hill said, I think it might be beneficial to talk to students. I know we're going to be talking to people who are in organizations, but maybe talk to students who aren't in organizations and see what they think of what he was saying there. You know, if the Formula team is spending money on race car parts and they're going out and representing the school as opposed to, you know, buying pizza or whatever, see what students who aren't in organizations think of that stuff.
That's like the intention of the open forum that we're going to be having. Maybe I'll bring it with other students.
I just have a quick question. Where did you get the number like 1 and 7? Where did that come from?
So the way I calculated it was almost by chance. So I was looking at the amount of money going to SOAP organizations, and let's see. So basically, okay. So if you take the whole gap fee and then divided by the number of students. So there were several steps involved. There was like, and I'm on the spot and I'm not able to do the math. If you would like, I could send an email to Melissa tonight, how exactly I calculated that number. I would be happy to do that.
But if you're going to do that, make sure that you get an updated email so that like Mira's not on it.
Okay.
She's not receiving it.
Okay. Okay.
Corey, do you maybe know at all? Do you have that information from our site or anything? No, okay.
We have about, let's say roughly 100 clubs on campus and a minimum of 10 students per club. That's 1,000 students. We have 2,000 in the school, 2,800. And now the only difference would be that some students are in multiple clubs.
Right. Yeah, and so that's the interesting about this number. When I found it, I was like, that is so cool because it was related to the total gap amount of money, and then if the amount of money that the amount of money that some organizations get, and then if the gap fee increased, how much proportionally that would affect just the students. So okay, it's a good point. It wouldn't be the number of students in the club; it would be the number of students that would get affected by soap money versus not affected. I better check my math though, because now you have me very worried that something went wrong. And I will send out an email with great detail about it. It's going to be lots of fun.
We just take like an informal vote to see what the temperature is.
Is anyone opposed to doing that? Just to kind of get a feel. Okay, all those in favor of what? Do we have to do a full motion just to do an informal vote?
Oh, no, I had a question.
That's what I was going on.
I had a question though. I was just wondering if we could like finalize what the two sides of the vote are.
Yeah.
Before.
So one would be to prevent or to disallow food purchases and apparel purchases, barring apparel and food waivers, would be a yes, and a no would be to keep things as they are. All those in favor or yes, please raise your hand. Oh, okay.
Some people in the room may have a feeling about food or something.
Are there people who would like to split the vote into a multiple vote?
Sorry,
Yes.
Okay, well then let's, okay, all those in favor of disallowing food, please raise your hand. All those in favor of disallowing apparel purchasing? All those in favor of keeping things the way they were? Are? Okay.
Thank you very much. The feedback is really, really great. So obviously, thank you so much.
Did you guys want a formal counter? Was I fine?
I was able to count really fast.
It's about 1 second, right?
You'll feel later.
Okay, I do have, so my other thing, as long as we're talking about food, I'll try not to make this one go so long, but it's kind of a big topic. Also, it's the idea of a GAF fee increase. So we've been talking about this, I brought this up at the Presidents of Presidents Roundtable, and people were very interested, and it's like, oh, interesting, this is something we could do, or at least look at. So the statistics, and I know people are going to be skeptical on these too, but I am actually pretty confident about this. So if we raise the GAF fee, currently it's at $47.60. If we raise it by $1, which is $48.60, that would turn into about $25,000 in a higher total GAF dollar amount. $25,000. If we gave all of that to soap, which the current soap budget was $213,000 last year, that would be an 8% budget increase across all organizations on average. Now, granted, our GAF fee is already very high. It's the second highest in the state. The other one higher is USD, which is at $52-ish. Most of the other ones are in the 30s. But and so you wouldn't think that we would struggle financially, but the reason why we do is of our GAF fee, about $10 of it gets taken out every year to go straight to the wellness center debt that we're paying back. So our effective gap fee is only $37-ish, if I'm correct. If I'm not correct, please correct me.
Yeah, go for it.
There's a few other fees coming out of there too, because
Okay.
there's two different bonds on Survey
Okay.
and the Wellness Center, so
Okay, so it's less than
considerably more.
Okay. So that's why it's not that much. What do you guys think?
So Ezra wasn't the only one thinking about this. Several senators have sat around and talked about it, and not just the finance committee. For me, the big reason that I would like to see a gap increase is so some of the senators have been here for 3 or 4 years, and the same issue comes up every year most of the time. We bring in a new club or several new clubs every year, and then some clubs die off, but new clubs are coming in, and I'm pretty positive that more clubs are coming in than are dying off. And that's a debated issue. We'll have to talk about that later. So the point is that we're bringing in new clubs, and that's great. There's new interests, new kids excited to start things up and get things going. But that cuts a larger slice out of the pie every year. So out of the 80 clubs that apply for SOAP, out of like 250,000, however much money it is that SOAP is allocated for each year, you divide that about 80 ways, not entirely even, but everybody gets a little bit smaller slice than they would have because these new clubs come in. And that's not the new club's fault at all, it just is the way things are. But there's a lot of clubs that have been around here, say the camp teams for instance, most of them have been around for 20 years, since like 97. And they, like Sahil was talking about earlier, they really represent the school well. They're kind of a staple in who we are. They go out there and get awards, they represent the school well, they add a lot of skill sets to people, a lot of people get jobs using them as references. But they're getting smaller and smaller slices, and they've more or less done a lot for the community, and they've done a lot for the school, and they bring a lot back. Where some of these new clubs haven't had a chance to do that yet. Maybe they will, but they're pulling funds. A lot of these new clubs, for one of them will survive, but 3 of them will be up for about a year or 2 and then kind of fall down. And that's great. They got to try. That's like small business. But the point is, when we bring in all these new clubs, and when we do that, we're showing our support for these new kids. We're never going to say no to a club unless it's just something just absolutely crazy, and we've never run into that. But and that's great. But we're still accountable to all these old clubs. All these old clubs that have been there, they really rely on us to take care of them as well, whether that's kind of inadvertently or not. So one way we can do that is by increasing the GAF fund. With the thing I'd like to do specifically with this, and I don't think it was mentioned, was that this GAF fund increase would be specifically towards SOAP. It wouldn't be used towards athletics. It wouldn't be used towards CERBEC or counseling. It would just go towards giving the students a larger GAF fund so that they have a little more to work with. We haven't increased in several years other than the Wellness Center, and inflation still goes up, prices of things still get higher, and they're still working with it. So that's kind of my leading part on the table for that.
So we probably just apply up those options next year. And is it the same for actually it's not correct.
Just kind of what you were just finishing up with. Can we guarantee that this extra $25,000 is going to get straight to SOAP, and it's not going to get none of it's going to be cut off earlier?
We can try to do that, but here's the issue. Like, while I'm here, I can verify that that's happening, but it's super hard because we could say in our constitution, here is 8% of this extra GAF money, and it's going to go to SOAP. But that doesn't change. The rest of whatever is normally allocated to SOAP is already a subjective number that's depending on how the finance team allocates it. So they can just shrink that and then keep this 8% locked up on the top. But the sum of the two is subjective, just like the rest of it. So it's like, how do you lock in 8% more, but then guarantee that the other doesn't change because of it? I don't know how a good way to do that is, actually.
Is that in response?
No, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, go ahead.
My response said, I do agree with that. Didn't we put a tiered system in place last year to
No,
make sure
that
that
was,
we have
we
to spend
did
money?
not put it in the tier system.
we just talked about it, or it got shut down?
We talked
or-
about it, there was no resolution, there was none of that. And on that note, any changes, the biggest thing that failed in that was that student owners were not really involved in that process. And so it's important that anything that we're considering doing here, we involve student owners heavily.
So I just want to get with what Ezra's saying, I want to get a feel for what the room was thinking, and then maybe form an ad hoc committee to go and discuss this with Heather Forney. Is there a way to secure it on that end with the information of how much comes to us every year? They can do that map for us, or we can set something up maybe directly into the Constitution, or maybe in some sort of a welcome to finance, here's what we're doing now, where we just take the budget, we just divide it up into 110% and just take, X percentage extra into, so we can make it happen. It's just how would we do that? What would that look like? And then we need to take talk to the clubs, talk to the community, and see what they want to do. If they would be okay with that. Was it discussed at the president's club or the president's
It was
meeting on
just
Right.
like discussed very, like not a discussion. basically.
Yeah, unfortunately, he's right at the end, we ran out of time. But I would like to say, for me, with Heather Forney, she's very busy, but I meet with her every 2 weeks at 2 p.m. on Tuesday. And anybody else who would like to come, I will be talking about this very specific thing with her.
At 1 p.m.
I'm getting misinformation right about today, guys. I'm terribly sorry. 1 p.m. on Tuesday. Next Tuesday, I'll be meeting with Heather Forney. So please email me if you want to be there.
Senator McCray.
So on that guaranteeing what goes to soap, is there a way that we can guarantee just a set percentage of GAF goes to soap and have the 8% plus whatever is already going to that? Is that a possibility?
So the way we've done it is the gap fluctuates depending on enrollment. So we sort of have had the soap be a percentage-ish of the total gap, and then all the other gap entities also have their percentage, and we try to make everything squish into place. But if this gap grew, we try to make that soap grow proportionally.
Okay, I'll split my comments up, but, I know we had some money roll over from clubs and venues. I know it wasn't your 25 grand that you're looking for, but it was at least 10.
It was about 20,000.
So it's pretty close. I feel like we could find a way to more effectively allocate our money without increasing the account.
So that money is very important. We use that for supplemental funding because we have a bunch of supplemental funds in here.
We have a lot of money in the reserve fund, do we not?
We do. We have about $800,000.
How much do you usually see in supplemental funding requests that you do?
Last year we had several. I don't have the exact number, so I don't want to spit something off and be wrong again. But that's a good point. I should look that up and see how that works.
Go ahead.
Because in my mind, and I'm not in charge of finances, and there's probably a reason for that, but in my mind, the reserve fund is for things like supplemental funding, so I don't know.
Well, so when I talked to Heather, she viewed the reserve money as stuff that's very rare one-time expense, and she viewed the supplemental funding as recurring expenses every year that we had to budget for. And so she, the way it was set up was the rollover money was basically for supplemental funding, and then the reserve money would be for something really rare, like the wellness center, a bunch of reserve money went out for that. I think.
So this is probably going to spin off into a slightly different direction, but so the money that rolls over every year, it's still realistically there, and that's why it tends to get used for supplemental. But the 800,000, and this, I'm not 100% sure on this, but I don't actually think it's just sitting in a bank account. I think the school uses it to do a lot of other things with, and we couldn't just pull out of that willy-nilly because it's not actually physically there. It's just there on paper. Like it's ours, but if we tried to pull it all out at once, we'd break the bank.
Three things. That's accurate, but as a Senate, it is that you allocate, 110K. That's what comes in from the gap fee that you use for soap allocations.
Soap was about 210K.
210, oh, and then does that include the 25K or so that comes from the foundation for soap?
It does.
It doesn't, okay. And so just so you know, the majority of it does come from your general activity fee, the gap, but the foundation every year has an additional 25K, I think, that goes into that. And then this is just a process point, but if you build a proposal to raise the gap fee, then that has to be approved by the student association, which is all students, so you need to take it to their vote, and then it has to pass by, of those who vote, it has to pass by a majority vote. So that's the process.
So, do you still have to? Okay, Senator Holster.
Something that's like a recurring thing on the comment board is like the distribution of like fair self-funding to all the student orgs. So like if we increase the gap, like would it just follow the same percentages and like amp each one up by like a sliver to each one, or is there like something else that would happen?
That's pretty much what we do. We would, if let's say we did raise it by $1, so it's $48.60, 8% per club, their budget could be raised 8%. Numbers would still line up. We obviously wouldn't be 8% to everybody. Probably there would be some pushing and pulling in areas, but that's where the average would be. It would be felt by just by your club.
Going back to Senator McBride's question about would we be able to guarantee it? Well, we would just have it set up the same way we do for the wellness center fees, right? So I'll yield my time.
It's an interesting conversation because who knows what the senators in 5 years are going to say, sitting around the table. So I mean, really depends on Senate to Senate because again, and it's your allocations. But you can put that in there. But then what are they going to do? So that 25 is sacred. But what are they going to do with the rest of it? So you almost, if you're going to put in some strict mandates, you almost have to put in the 210 you said is for soap. 210 plus 25, so 235 is sacred, not 25.
So are all clubs cut equal the same amount? And if so, wouldn't it make more sense to give that money to the ones that are cutting more?
Well, no, because the cutting process gets very complicated because clubs don't abide by the restrictions in all the same way. So their budget might say, like something outrageous like 100 bags of burritos or something, and we're like, no, and so we cut that. And so they get cut proportionally more than other clubs do. And so by no means is every cut equal, but we try to do it as fairly as we can, if that makes sense.
So for like some of our money, like it goes to the wellness center and like survey farms and stuff like that, like when are we done paying some of those fees? As students?
I don't know that offhand, but it is on a fee payment schedule, and Heather Forney has that, and I have an accountant that shows that too. So they were pretty long bonds, and then they got refinanced, and so they're still pretty long bonds.
And I'll find that out on Tuesday.
Could we take an informal vote? A, B, if people are in favor of at least exploring this as an option, could we form an ad hoc committee to meet and then meet with the finance committee? The finance committee could be in that ad hoc committee as well, but that way everyone who's interested, how we want to handle this, or who we want to divide what, or who we want to talk to, just get all that figured out. But if this is an idea that Amy wants to go forward with.
All those in favor of potentially exploring the option of increasing the gap for soap reasons, would you please raise your hand? Okay. All those interested in serving on an ad hoc to do so, would you raise your hands so that everyone can see you write them down?
All right. You're going to have to keep your hands up, too.
keep your hands up.
How about they just meet you after the meeting?
Yeah, how about they just meet with me after the
That
meeting?
works too. Senator Hill.
Okay, so obviously the funding, and there's like a funding problem, and we have like, just plain devil's advocate. Up in Ybor, we talked about the possibility of restricting the number of organizations to solve this problem rather than increasing the amount of, or increasing the gap. I was just curious if anybody has any opinions about restricting the number of boards on campus.
I'm sure it comes to do, just Senator Club.
So you're saying total number of clubs or total clubs asking for so? That's
Considering that like almost all of them would be like asking for self, I'd say just.
Well, this is a solution also that other universities have. I think USD funds 60% of their students. So I mean, both are viable things. It's just different formats. But.
So that means great three organizations, you have one funded.
Nope. Did you have more? Anyone in response to Senator Will's question?
I think we talked a lot about this last year.
That's not much of an answer. What, go read the minutes? Right?
I'm trying to find the minutes from that awful meeting. Sorry.
So we did talk about this last year, especially when we were talking about the tier system.
Yeah, we had a couple of copies.
It really came back down to it again, that why do we get to decide who can get funded and who doesn't get funded? Every club in their own mind thinks stuff. It's just there's a lot of clubs here and everybody wants to do a lot of great things and there's not very much money to go around. So that's why in our sub-constitution, we've got some key points in there, the missions for the money, usually for what they're trying to expand upon and stuff. And so when we do the SOAP thing, we really look at, the camp teams go out, they represent the school, they do a highly educational thing, and then there's some clubs here that maybe they just are behind a closed door and never leave the school, and that's it. So sometimes we do look at a priority for where money is going. It's not a fun job, people know. So we're very hated on campus.
Other comments on this topic?
When would we be looking at implementing this? No, not and the gap in updating the Constitution, having that stuff come into effect.
So the sub-constitution already has a number of changes that are already waiting to be implemented, and it's unfortunate because I wish I could have gotten them kicked through before these SOAP workshops, but I was going to try to package them with some of these other changes and then delays, and now it's not going to happen. That being said, within the next couple of weeks, this feedback is great, and then once we get this ad hoc committee to talk about the gap thing, we should have these constitution changes implemented, which will fall in effect for next year when they're actually spending money. So it won't affect spending money this year.
Hold on.
Oh, here's one.
Yes.
Go ahead.
So because budgets follow a year
Yeah.
basis, would that mean that budgets that are produced this year, that'll be due in December, do not need to abide by the Constitution rules the following year? Because they were budgeted under the presumption of the old rules being passed.
I think
Like a grandfather clause almost.
well, or the implementation would go into the budgets that are being created next year, which would be for spending the following year. Does that make sense?
So it's actually 2 years out.
Yes.
That's probably how
Yeah,
we have
okay,
it.
that's where I guess
Yes.
2 years out,
Yes.
not this year, because budgets are all.
Because budgets are being made here for next year.
That's correct.
Anything else for this topic? Anything else for open discussion? Senator Agudekis.
I'll make this short. Last year, there was an issue in the chemistry department about how classes are offered every semester, and there was students worried about how we're changing the system so core classes are offered only every year, and it was messing with people's schedules, etc. So Dr. Winter updated me on the results of what they're doing, and to brief everyone, it was a trial that they started 5 years ago. It was a 4-year trial. where they offered Chemie core classes every semester instead of every year, with the goal of having students take more co-ops because their schedules are more flexible, and graduating sooner because they can take classes every semester. And what they found in the data is that students aren't taking more co-ops, and the graduation rate is only improving by like a month or two, we said, which is really not substantial enough considering the magnitude of the amount of time teachers have to spend teaching classes essentially twice as long as they would if it was just every year. And so what he basically was telling me was SDMIN's the public institution. We get a set number of dollars from the state, and that goes towards teaching and resources. And since Chemie teachers are required to teach, be advisors, do research, and have service, those are all components of their contract, they're very busy. And teaching classes twice a year is something that's very difficult and time consuming. And so we're reverting back to, we're phasing into the whole teaching classes every year. Two things I want to note. Number one, they're gonna focus more with the freshman sophomore classes because those students haven't planned out their year, their 4-year track as set as juniors and seniors, and they're also gonna work on changing the co-recs and prereqs for stuff like senior design and core junior level classes. So it won't affect juniors and seniors as much. But these changes will go into effect starting next year, but it'll phase in the following years. And then one thing I should mention for all you that are like, wow, this really isn't the best, is that we are the only Chemie program in the country that did this program, the offer classes every semester. No other Chemie program in the United States does this. And so we'll start phasing in the next following years. If there are any comments or questions, I can relate them back to Dr. Wenner, but feel free to tell all your Chemies that this is going to happen, and that they learned a lot from this, and this is really, really meticulous. So they didn't just brush over this and say, hey, this is what we're doing. They're going to take all the good parts from it and implement it as they can.
What are their intentions on informing the students? Or how are they going to inform the students?
I don't think they have any set plans. I think classes will just start to be offered every year.
Is there a reason why this is affecting the Chemie department so heavily? Because I know any department does it every semester, from my knowledge, that you can have any of the classes every semester.
So that's news to me. Yeah. Okay, so
it depends because there are also a lot of departments. I mean, we're all speaking for our respective department, right? But I know there are some departments that do certain classes semesterly. By no means is it all. And then there's some, like math, there are certain classes that are not offered except for once every 2 years. So you can miss it and you can not graduate for 2 years. I mean, like, so I think it's a process. It all depends on what's going on with the faculty, how many students you have. If you have a giant freshman class, you're going to need to pull resources there to teach. So I think just understanding that it's a fluid process. Plus the ME department is much larger than the Chemie department. Yes. Anything else on this? Anything else for open discussion? Okay. Upcoming Senate business. Like I mentioned, November 1st and 2nd will be the presidential candidate interviews. Please just keep your eyes open for that and make sure you're spreading the word. As soon as I have time, I will let you know so that we can start giving specifics out. November 4th, remember that we, as a group, selected to help out with Rowdy Rockers that morning. It's family weekend, so we're going to be doing that. And any other upcoming Senate business that I should have done here? And a concert in the fall. Sorry, Jake.
Yes, that. And the food trucks tomorrow.
Yes.
So,
you want to talk about
yeah, so I would like to learn because, so it's gotten a green light from all the departments on campus for student and all that. So can we advertise this as student senate, or how can we go? Because Larry is worried about attendance, and we don't want to like step on toes, but we want to promote the event. We don't know the best way to do that. So
combine our brains and respond here. For me, I guess the Vice President of Finance and Administration has approved this. the contract and everything, then I would say it's probably advertised. But I mean, what do you think, Dr. Mann? I mean.
Thanks. Well, I thought you were sending out notices.
So we sent out one
Oh,
email
for the
first time, and then the second, and then I emailed again, the week after and said this will be a weekly thing, and I gave all the dates, but nobody reads my emails,
Yes,
and
the entire emails,
Right.
but, mine's
Well.
link is fine, you wanna put stuff on the sidewalks, fine.
send it around.
Do the food trucks have posters that they used to advertise, and if so, we could just put them up around campus because it's not relating to us.
Good question.
I don't know if they do.
Can we put up outside posters like that?
I mean, we would have to sponsor them and get them signed as us and take responsibility for them, but. And now you might.
That's right, not, because reading through that, we read through that earmark contract a couple years ago when we had some issues. And it was pretty vague on some student groups advertising for stuff, but you can get through it as a student or a group as a sponsor, doing things, with outside advertising. But I don't know as us trying to do it as a association.
And
There's
that
a lot of gray area in the contract for everybody.
So I would say as a whole, I mean, this is what we're looking at with posting policy anyway, and events that are sponsored by outside organizations that benefit students. So if, again, that we're clear that we can put posters on, we're gonna look at sounding based upon discussions, and bring it to my office, we will stamp them approved for posting. Then it's not, like, we will take that as an office, that we're approving it for the posting, okay? Again, I'm just making sure that we've gone through the chain, and I think we're fine with doing it. Let's go from now.
Something right, do you have
I just
something?
want to hear
Anything else on the food trucks? Anything else?
Who's gonna be his?
I don't remember.
I
Bose
think it's
something?
Bose kickstand.
Okay.
You know what would be a really good center around it? Food trucks.
To go to.
Cool take. Okay, upcoming Senate events. Any other upcoming Senate events? Any announcements? Senator Wright.
For the first time ever, and then like us planning for 100 years now, we use Colorado School of Mines. That's it.
That's a big one.
That's enough.
Any other announcements? I feel like Sweet Talk's going to steal it. Senator, can you?
So I just wanted to plug T-Swift real quick. I think it's really important. Also, Secret Santa is coming up, and it's right around the corner, so start thinking about that.
It is coming up.
Yeah.
I remember when Ed did this in January, guys, so it's been a long time.
Yeah. It was coming up then, too.
Sweet Talk, did you have another announcement? All right. Is there a motion I could entertain? Okay, Senator Reel. There's been a motion to adjourn, made by Senator Reel, seconded by Senator Elmore. Is there a discussion? Guys, I really wish we could discuss like
Discussion is worth.
motions. All those in favor, say by saying aye. All those opposed, same sign. Okay, people who were going to be on the ad hoc grid, please go talk to us.
Anybody want to talk about concerts? Talk to me.
I just said you would email. Yeah, that's fine. No, you can send me whatever you want. Yeah, so I sent it email, basically just major years of going to the city and then
Are you gonna survive from what I just look up and you're like trying to not make eye contact, and I was like, I have to.
As of now, no students in our grade.
How do I shut up? I did not have the audio.